We are super excited to be back here with Shattered Darkness. We're on episode 53? 52. So episode 52. I'm really excited about this one. This is something I've been looking forward to for quite a while, since we started talking about it. But today with me, I have our co-host, Elliot Osterus, and our guests today are super good friends of mine, Jeremy and Amy Holton. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having us, Mitch.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Also, just want to let you guys know that we are now shooting in Love Shack. This is our 4th week shooting here, something like that.
I think so, yeah.
So obviously, we love how the production value has changed, and it just visually we feel like it's getting a lot better, and we're able to focus on content. Things are becoming more automated. So we love our new location. It's at the Love Shack Mocktail Bar in downtown Loveland. The address is 120 East 4th Street. I also want to give a huge shout out to these guys because they are our first corporate sponsor. Han Casera opened this place, I don't know, 6-8 months ago, something like that. And, it's just creating a safe environment for people that don't drink and, people that just want that different kind of environment, want to connect with other sober individuals. And the bar is massive. It's 5,000 square feet. So if you want to come in and do business meetings, coffee meetings, they have great coffee, great drink menu. They just added a full breakfast menu. Is that right?
Full restaurant license. So just added charcuterie boards and a couple of other things.
Nice. So you can come in, get some food. I know also they're running events. They've done yoga events, DJ events. There's all kinds of stuff. So if you have cool creative ideas, just go talk to the owner or the manager, and they can definitely help you out. So the Love Shack Mocktail Bar, 120 East 4th Street. It is seriously an incredible space. Come check it out. And just, again, thank you to them for sponsoring us and, helping us get our mission out there. So with all of that, we just want to say thank you to you guys for following, for liking, subscribing. We've noticed our numbers are going up. We're getting more comments, more engagements. We love it. It's amazing. We love to engage with you guys, even in the negative stuff, even in the disagreements. Let's sit down. Let's talk about that stuff. Let's work through it. And I'm not saying that my perspective is correct. Maybe we learn something from each other and to move forward. So that's the example that we want to set here too, is that we want to have difficult conversations with people that maybe we don't agree with on every aspect of life, and set an example of how we can do that in a healthy way and still have respect for each other. So with all of that, I will shut my mouth, and we're going to get into Jeremy and Amy's story. How are you guys doing today?
Doing well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Seriously, I've been looking forward to this. But we'll let you guys just kind of start where you want to start, background, where you guys are from, how you met, those kinds of things, and just kind of get into it.
Do you want to start with how we met?
Yes. I grew up in New Mexico.
Yep.
And then
I grew up in Wisconsin.
What part of Wisconsin?
I was in Somerset, so central western Wisconsin. Okay. Then I actually moved to Colorado in high school. So.
Okay, cool.
Yep, and I moved to Colorado right after high school, about a year after high school, and had recently had become a Christian at the age of 19 in 1996. Then I moved to Colorado, got very plugged into a church there, and made a bunch of friends, and then a couple of years later, I had left Colorado and went to New Mexico, back to New Mexico to go to school, and then started a band. And
what kind of band?
Just a rock band.
Yeah.
Yep. And came up to Denver and played in Denver. And one weekend went to a friend's wedding in South Dakota and sat down to this cute girl, next to this cute girl. And when I sat down, she said...
I said, is your name Jeremy by chance?
You're like, what?
Great guess.
Yeah, I had just moved back from Japan. So I had been in Colorado, moved to Japan for 2 years to teach English.
Okay.
And had a surgery in Minnesota. And some friends said, well, let's do a road trip back to Colorado together. And so I stopped at a wedding of some people I didn't even know, and he was sitting there, and I'm like, you look familiar, and I think your name's Jeremy, but I don't know from where.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And we hit it off. It was very natural conversation. And I think we both just had chemistry, but we've been burned in relationships recently. So we went our separate ways. And I prayed if I was ever supposed to see him again, I would. And 3 weeks later, he was in Fort Collins for the New West Fest, and we ran into each other again.
That is so wild. So randomly, completely randomly?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever figure out the initial, like, how you knew him?
Eventually we did.
Took us a while.
After we
Took us
started
maybe
dating.
a year or something.
Yeah.
Until we figured it out.
We realized that before he went back to New Mexico and before I went to Japan, we had some mutual friends, and we were at a mutual friend's surprise birthday party. I was dating someone else at the time.
Okay.
And my boyfriend couldn't come. And he was there playing guitar, and we got to talking, and I left that party and thought, what am I doing with creeps like the guy I'm with when there's guys like that in the world?
Yeah.
And then 2 years later, full
Dude, that
circle,
is wild.
we meet at this wedding in South Dakota.
That is
and then
such a
again
cool-
in Fort Collins.
That's a cool origin story. I
Yeah.
love that. That's really cool.
So we knew it was meant to be.
Yeah,
it was
totally.
meant to be. This girl has been the love of my life.
Yes, we got married a year and a half later after meeting at that wedding.
In 2001.
And how long? 2001?
Yeah.
So you guys been married 25 years? Almost
24.
Yep.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Cool.
It's amazing.
Yeah. We have 3 daughters, and 2 in college, 1 in high school. So we're almost empty nesters. But yeah, it's been quite a journey.
Yeah,
We have
I bet.
quite an adventurous story.
Yeah, so I guess, and you had mentioned a little bit too, if you guys want to get into your backgrounds at all, you can, but you had mentioned a little bit too of being raised kind of in an alcoholic environment.
Yeah.
And I just kind of curious how that transpired for you, what that
Yeah.
looked like. And
Yeah, so I lived with my mom and stepdad, and their drinking was increasing. My mom was an executive, high functioning alcoholic, and worked a ton. And but I noticed in high school just her being gone more, her drinking more. I had concerns for that. And started praying for her, actually. And then my freshman year of college, kind of crazy situation happened where I'd been praying a lot for her. And I woke up from a dream at 3 a.m. my freshman year and felt like she was going to die. And it was a really almost like eerie kind of spiritual experience that I woke up from. So I just started praying for her. And my roommate prayed for her. And then the next morning I get a call from an ex-boyfriend who is just a friend now. And he said, Amy, are you okay? And I said, yeah, why? He said, well, the weirdest thing happened at 3:07 last night, which was the time I was up in a panic. And he said, I saw you on a chair with like fire coming off of you. And I just felt like I was supposed to pray for you. And I said, pray for my mom, because that's what was on my heart at 3 a.m. And so I talked to my mom, and that week, people at her office confronted her about her drinking. And she ended up going into treatment at Hazelden. And she's been sober ever since.
Hey guys, I just wanted to take a quick minute to cut out from our conversation and say, Elliot and I have noticed that about 75% of you guys that are listening to our content and engaging with us have not actually subscribed to the channel on YouTube. So right now, I would love it if you guys could just stop what you're doing, go click that subscribe button, all the follow buttons on social media. What this does is it helps us grow our impact. It helps us grow our guest list, put together better content, basically grow our network, our brand, so that we can create better content for you guys. So it's a huge, huge help for us if you click that subscribe button right now. Thank you so much. Wow.
So that was spring of 1996.
Okay.
So she has just had it. And my stepdad, who was drinking at the time, just threw the bottles away, never touched it again either. And
Wow.
so it was a pretty powerful thing that
Were
happened.
they faith-based people?
My stepdad, not faith-based and still isn't, but my mom was and now is very in tune with her walk with Jesus.
That's good.
Wow,
awesome.
that's really cool, especially with the first go around. Yeah, that's pretty uncommon.
Yeah, and then my stepdad just supported her by throwing everything away and saying, I'm not going to touch it again. He didn't get treatment, but he's just like, if this is a problem for us, we'll get rid of it and never touch it again.
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely those people out there. I feel like that was like Aaron Nelson, like our old podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys just
Yeah.
recently met him, but yeah, he was kind of the same way. Just once he made a decision on where he was going, that was it. So, but yeah. What did you learn through all that? Did you notice the destruction or anything like that? I mean, it sounds like you kind of could see things falling apart a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, how it manifested in myself as a high schooler was the need for perfection, performance. I developed an eating disorder, so I was borderline anorexic, cleanaholic.
Do you think it was in an effort to like get them to notice you, or?
No, it was more of a need for control.
Okay.
So it was one thing that if I controlled myself in an environment that felt out of control,
Yeah.
and if I performed well, that somehow gave me a sense of safety.
Okay.
So, and it was never, our home was a very loving place,
Yeah.
even with alcoholism.
Yeah.
But it was just this heavy understanding that they're not healthy, and that concerned me.
Yeah, I get that for sure. Yeah, I had that with my mom for a long time. So I definitely understand that. And what about you? Was there ever any alcohol in your background or alcohol abuse, I should say?
When I was in high school, there wasn't a lot of alcohol around the house unless my brother and I were sneaking it in.
So you were a little bit of a rebel?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. I was just a high school partier,
Okay.
and so I ended up, I was kind of a stoner,
Okay.
but I also would drink quite a bit. And then I went to a Tool concert of all things in '96,
Oh, this is a good story.
and I became a Christian at a Tool concert from some people.
You gotta tell the story. It's so good.
We went to this concert, and there were some people who were evangelizing. They were sharing about Jesus, but I thought they were like Tool evangelists.
If you guys don't know who Tool is, they're a hard rock band.
Yeah.
Heavy rock band.
And they kind of have this
Not Christian.
cult following. And so these guys were up there outside of the concert sharing with people about Jesus. And I started mocking them because I thought they were trying to like spread the message of Tool. Because Tool had this like apocalyptic, almost prophetic type of messaging.
Okay.
And I thought they were trying to spread, the message of like the coming end of the world or something.
Yeah.
And so I started mocking them, and then I realized that they were Christians, and I had been on my own reading the Bible quite a bit, and I had started to kind of become fond of Jesus, and so then I felt very guilty that I was like mocking his representatives. And so at this concert, I just had this great sense of guilt. And there was this part of the concert where up on the screen, there was this, and if you were to go watch Tool videos, you would see some of this imagery. There was this ape that was evolving into a human up on the screen. Or maybe it was a human that was devolving into an ape. Yeah. And the ape was just walking in this circle. And then it turned into a skeleton. It was just the skeleton walking in a circle. And it struck me in the middle of this concert, this dark, heavy rock concert. It just struck me that, that's a dead man going nowhere. And I was like, that's me. That's my life. I'm a dead man going nowhere. I was convinced that I was separated from God and that I needed help. I needed some sort of spiritual help. And so I left that concert and went out into the parking lot and prayed to follow Jesus.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What has that done for your life?
Well, it shifted my whole center of gravity. It gave me a purpose. It gave me a point of stability. I was just a lost teenager trying to figure out who I was and what life was all about. And suddenly I had like a source for my ultimate identity. And and found relief from the sense of guilt that I was carrying, because that was the big thing. I was carrying a sense of guilt because I was just a teenage rebel. Yeah. I knew I was being terrible to my parents, and I had caused a lot of grief in their life. I knew that the path that I was walking with drugs and alcohol was dangerous and illegal. And I had a friend who had stolen some guns, and he was in prison. And it was like I was walking along the edge of having a ruined life. Yeah. And so when I became a Christian, it gave me a sense of cleansing in my conscience, and something to live for beyond myself.
And grace.
Yeah.
Yeah, great sense of grace. Yep. And forgiveness. Yeah.
So were you able to kind of relieve that guilt and forgive yourself for some of the things that you'd done and some of the harm that you'd caused?
Yeah, and more than anything, I had a relationship with God. Yeah. So there was a relief of guilt, but there was also a newfound.
Dude, it's crazy. Like, I think about that story and getting saved. Like, let's go. What caused you to get into the Bible in the first place? Right? It does, because and maybe I should ask this question first. Did you come from a spiritual background?
Yeah, I had a home where Jesus was important, and I remember especially my mom having this devoted life to Christ, and I remember that more from my dad when I was younger.
Your dad was also a believer?
He was also a believer, yeah. Not as outspoken as my mom.
Right.
In fact, I think at that point, my dad had maybe become agnostic.
Okay.
But because he went through his own faith journey, as an adult. Yeah. But yeah, so my default was to Jesus, and I was becoming spiritually interested in things.
Yeah.
And so
that makes more sense, because I don't know, dude, it's very rare that somebody just does that on their own, It's usually people being led into it or introduced to it.
Yep.
Or something like that. So I was curious, because if that was something that you had done on your own, I was like, man, I want to know about that and where that mindset was. But it was always there. So you were you grew up with it. Did your parents go to church a lot? Did you guys spend a lot of time there?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Pretty regular church going home.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So that makes all of that, like the guilt, all of those things, that makes sense. Like, you knew by your upbringing that what you were doing
I did.
was the wrong
yeah,
path.
I had been given a pretty clear moral compass.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
And knew that I was at least violating, what I had been taught.
Right.
But more than that, the way that God does this is, even if you haven't been taught, I think that just built into us, this is what theologians would refer to as the natural law. Like there's no kind of a moral compass that people have. I'm like, when you've done wrong.
Right.
And the question is, how do you get rid of the sense of guilt once you have?
Right.
And there are no natural answers to that. Mm-hmm. But the crucified man from Nazareth offered a solution to that problem. And I wanted to know God.
Yeah.
And that was a way. That was a way to have that relationship made possible.
Did you have to walk away from that life completely? The hard rock band, obviously alcohol, drugs, I'm assuming that point started to become less
I had
important.
A pretty radical shift at that point. I didn't listen to music for a couple years after that.
Yeah.
And I didn't do any drugs or alcohol. I made a clean cut from that.
Yeah.
I was only 19, so I wasn't even legally able to have alcohol.
Right. It's crazy how we find ways, right?
Yeah. And marijuana was not legal anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
So I kind of broke ties with all my drug dealer friends.
Yeah.
And
did they all think you were nuts?
Oh, absolutely, because I wasn't just like, I'm not doing that anymore. It was like, I'm not doing that anymore. And by the way, have you met Jesus?
Totally, dude. It's like you have that awakening, right?
Yeah.
And it's all you can focus on.
It was like, there's the parable that Jesus tells. He says, the kingdom of heaven is like a man who found a buried treasure in a field. And in his joy, he went and sold everything that he has to buy the field.
Yep.
He's like, there's nothing in my life more valuable than this new treasure that I found. And I will get rid of every obstacle that stands in the way of me having that. And then once you've found that, once you've obtained it for yourself, you're like, you got to see this treasure. You got to see this treasure. And so, anyways, I made a hard cut and became a very devout Christian. And then met this gal. She was a very devout Christian. And so we just linked arms and followed Jesus, even to the point where I got a couple of master's degrees in biblical studies.
Oh, wow.
And became a pastor for several years and a church planter.
Okay.
Yeah, so
That's amazing.
Jesus was everything for us.
Was that all here in Colorado?
That was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome.
When you first did you kind of have to unlearn what you had learned about Christianity and Jesus before? Or did you kind of just pick up where you left off?
Really good question.
Yeah.
Because I know some, like with Mitch, you kind of had to relearn the
I'm
whole
in that process
Yeah.
right now, dude. Like
Yeah.
reading the New Testament for myself, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
Well, yeah.
With a fresh mind.
Reading for myself. One of the immediate changes in my life was that I had a voracious appetite to learn about Jesus. And
Learning in general.
learning in general. That's right. Yeah.
that's actually one of the things I love the most about you guys is your just appetite for education.
Yeah, so I started reading the Bible for myself, and I was like, in many ways, like this man is who I have been told he is, although I don't think it's like your eyes being opened, right? You're like, so the blinders come off, and you see for yourself. It's like the world of, or let me say this: the person of Jesus was far more beautiful than I realized. I think that's essentially what happens when a person is born again. It's the word that Jesus uses, or the phrase Jesus uses in John chapter 3. It's like the birth of a new sense.
Yeah.
It's like you didn't have the sense of taste before, and you're like eating honey, and you're just like, ugh, this is sticky and thick, and but then you're born again. It's like, bam, you have taste buds suddenly,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, it's sweet. That's why people like it.
Yeah. Dude, that is honestly probably one of the best ways I've heard anybody describe like a spiritual awakening because it's so hard to put it into words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard this line in a song and it's funny. It's like I think it's by Millennium. And it says, I'm plugged in or like being plugged in while I'm awake. You know, it's like that and having that sense, right? Like that actual physical sense of being electrified
Yeah.
while you're awake, you know? And
Yep.
that to me is like that spiritual awakening when you just realize like, oh my gosh, I have been looking at this all the wrong way.
That is why the scripture talks about it in terms of like giving sight to the blind. It's like
Right.
you're seeing for the first time.
Right.
And there's wonder in God. But before that happens, you're just like boring. That was my whole life growing up. I was like, Jesus is boring.
Right.
Church is boring.
That was my
which it was.
Yeah. I thought it was great. And it kind of was. You're not wrong, dude. In the 90s, like, my brother would literally fall asleep in every service.
Yeah. And then I was awakened, you know, for myself, and I started reading for myself. As I'm reading the Bible for myself, I was like, there is glory to be seen. I just had been blind to it. So yes, and to answer your question, there was some unlearning because of the misconceptions that I had.
What can you explain maybe what some and maybe you can speak to this too, like what were some of those misconceptions? Can you speak to those that is like because I know what mine were, but I'm curious to know what yours were.
I think for me, most fundamentally, was that I thought that what Jesus wanted was for me to be a good person.
I was going to say morality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
And it's like,
And if you weren't, what was that consequence? Like, was there a fear of God kind of sense in there?
For sure, yeah. But like I thought, basically the message of the Bible was be good.
Yeah. And if you don't, then
and if you don't, there are consequences.
Right.
Yeah.
And I actually believe that's probably true, but I don't think the fundamental message of the Bible is be good. I think the fundamental message of the Bible is that you can't be good enough, and God is good, and so God sent Jesus to be perfect.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's not be good. It's like good is not good enough. Perfection is the standard,
Right.
and everybody falls short of that. But Jesus didn't. God knew that we could never be good enough, so he sends his son to be perfection in our place and to take the payment of our failure on himself. And so it's much more a story about how great God is, not a story about how we need to do good. Right. That's a death trap.
It's very freeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I became a Christian in high school, right around the time all this was transpiring with my parents and more drinking. I had gone on a trip for the summer to visit my dad in Colorado. So I was living in Wisconsin, came out for the summer to Colorado, went to a youth group, met people my age that loved Jesus and loved me well, and walked through the scripture with me. And I was a changed young woman at 15.
What led you to that? Was it do you think it was the brokenness in the house? Like,
I mean, honestly, that summer I was bored and they played volleyball.
Okay.
So
so it's just kind of coincidence.
it was something to do.
Okay.
And I was a partier at that time, cheerleader,
Sure.
very popular,
Yeah.
drank at parties. And so I didn't think I'd have anything in common with these kids, but I was bored enough that my grandparents went to this church and said, why don't you come try the youth group? They play volleyball on Wednesday nights. And I tried it, and these people that were my age were so full of light and love for me and welcoming me that I stuck around for the summer. And there just was in an environment that fed me.
Was that something that you were used to?
So my home life, both my dad and stepmom, who I later moved in with, and my stepdad and mom, they all had backgrounds in Christianity. My grandparents, my dad's side, were strong Christians and went to this church. So I knew enough about the values of Christianity, but I didn't know Jesus really.
Sure.
And so, I was one of those kids that went to church maybe once in a while on Easter or Christmas.
Christmas Eve,
Yeah.
Totally.
But that's
the
summer.
Christers.
Yeah. Yeah, so that summer, there was a college gal that discipled me. She just took me under her wing that was part of that group and did a study with me and took me on hikes and just gave me at the end of the summer this very simple illustration of, you're over here, sinful man, and God's over here, perfect, and the only way to him is bridge of the cross. And, what are you centering your life on? And just some really good questions for me that got me thinking about my life and my emptiness. And by the end of the summer, I gave my life to Christ. So that was at 15. Went back to Wisconsin where I had been a Lutheran. And there were two churches in my small town. It was a Catholic church with a alcoholic priest. that was the rumor. And a dead Lutheran church that I had gone to for communion or something. And so I had no true Christian friends when I went back. And I started listening to Christian radio. And then this college gal was in Montana and would send me discipleship Bible studies every week in the mail.
Oh, cool.
And so that's how I walked through the Word for a year.
Wow.
And then the friends in the youth group wrote me letters every week to just kind of tell me.
Are you serious? That's amazing.
Like 5 different people in the youth group were really writing me every week. So my community was clearly back in Colorado. And at the end of my sophomore year, and my parents were drinking more and more and fighting. And at one point I came out and I said, you guys need help. And I'm going to move to Colorado because that's where my Christian community is. And they're like, okay.
And then they literally went and got sober? That was kind of like
then that was in college.
Yeah.
That was like a couple of years later. But the catalyst of me leaving, my mom and I were like best friends.
Yeah.
It was very devastating to her that I left when I did. And because because I'd come to faith and because I saw their problem and I didn't want to be in the middle of it. And so I think that got her stirred back to her faith, but her drinking got worse.
Okay.
And then that night, kind of that miracle happened that woke her up and she got help. So that was like 3 years later.
Okay. I think the background is important too, because really, I like the background questions. You know, I'm a big origin story kind of guy, and plus I think it kind of gives credibility to everything. You know, kind of lost my train of thought.
I will say just kind of one final thought on all of that. I came to faith at that time, but I didn't get grace for a couple of years later. So
Like you didn't understand it?
I didn't understand grace. I knew the word grace, but I didn't like really.
I think that one's a really hard one for us to accept.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And if you think you're pretty good, I was a pretty good kid.
Yeah. I actually was too.
Yeah. So I didn't feel the weight of my sin until I went on a initial trip for a summer with Campus Crusade for Christ to Japan. And I was there for a summer helping gals with eating disorders, and that was kind of my ministry. But I had messed up in a relationship with a boyfriend and was feeling the guilt of that as a Christian.
Yeah.
And that summer we studied through the book of Romans, and you know, just the element of God's unconditional love and grace is what stood out to me. And it was like, oh, here was another aha moment that changed how I lived my life.
Yeah. That's cool. I honestly feel like I'm going through that right now, you know. Just the grace piece, you know, I realized that I thought I had grace on myself, but I'm realizing through marriage counseling and some practices, some things that we're trying to work through, that I haven't done that. I haven't actually found a way for people to allow people to really love me, you know?
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like I deserve it.
Yeah.
And so
That's interesting too, because I feel like that's such a human experience. It's like you're on top of the mountain, but you're always only halfway up.
totally
Exactly.
not.
Yeah,
Like
every
you make
single
it to this
time.
precipice. Yeah, it's like the journey's never over. But I think we've talked about that.
Yep.
You know, and so and it's hard, man. Like I think the grace piece is really hard, especially for people in the addiction space, you know, with drugs and alcohol, because it's just so chaotic. You know, and that's honestly how I feel, right? A lot of the time is chaotic. And I feel like I bring that to my family when really I need to be bringing peace and tranquility, you know, and all of these things. And it's just like, oh shit, like I'm not that guy, you know, like I'm just not in that headspace right now. And so I think it's balance, you know, trying to find a balance. But it's hard, man. Like it's really hard. And I just realized last night that like I have not given myself grace for what I put my family through, you know, and then it's a really tough one.
And I think that's the reality of patterns we develop in our life. We can come to the spiritual awakening and receive grace and have like a new aspect to our life, but childhood trauma or different things that we carry into our adulthood are hard habits to break.
Right.
And I'm even seeing that right now. You know, we'll share some of Jeremy's stroke recovery, but you know, I've jumped into performance mode, not to earn God's love, but because that's how I cope. And so resting is very hard for me. Stopping, you know, and just sitting and having a conversation, even on the drive here, he's like, can you stop worrying about all the things and the timeline and, you know, what you have to do today? And can we just talk and be together for a few minutes?
Do you
Because
do you enjoy
That's
that
very
place?
sweet about it.
He was. He's always sweet.
Do you enjoy that place in your mind?
I feel exhausted by it. You know, I'm drained. I know that my weak point is that I need to learn to rest or receive from God and trust. And I can know that here, but how I live out my life is deeply rooted in those childhood patterns that I developed.
It's really interesting. I don't know. I see a lot of that in my wife, and so it's like something that we're working through, and I think, we have a lot going on, with work and all these other things. I'm gone a lot, and we have 2 kids. And so it's just like trying to work through that, is really difficult. And I keep challenging her to just slow down, which is really, really hard for her to do. Yeah. So I think I'm trying to understand that a little bit, and kind of how to engage with that and help, in an actually helpful manner. Right. Something that's helpful for her, not me,
Yeah.
So,
and this is the picture we get of that story of the 2 sisters of Lazarus in the Bible, Mary and Martha.
Yeah.
Jesus comes over and Martha's like, there's a lot of work to do. I mean, we've got the Messiah in our house. She's serving him. She's doing all this work. And Mary's like, I'm going to sit and listen to the Messiah talk. And Martha's kind of pissed at her because she's like, do you think you get to help with the hosting here? And, well, I'm sure Jesus appreciated Martha's efforts and understood why she was working so hard. He actually says to Martha, listen, Mary has chosen the one most important thing, which is to sit down and listen to what I have to say, and it's not going to be taken away from her. Mary was willing to pause and to absorb what God had for her, and Martha was unable to pause from her duties,
right,
to absorb the words of the Messiah. And it's like, it's
about relationship.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah. Right. And how do you build that, right? You got to slow down and take time. And this is something too that these guys have told me at times with our guests on this is like, dude, you have got to shut up. This is not about you.
You've gotten a lot better.
It's seriously like a conscious thing that I have to remind myself of, So, that's really interesting. Yeah. And it's, I don't know. And that's what it seems to kind of just wind up the ball a little bit,
Well, it goes back to that point we were making a while ago. What is the fundamental message of the Bible?
Right.
Is it do something, or is it, wait, God has done something.
Now receive
from Him. It's the difference between a message of perform and grace.
Yeah.
God's performance for you.
This is why I love talking to you guys about this stuff, man, because it's like you have so much wisdom and insight, and I will say the hardest thing about reading through the Gospels on your own is it's confusing, at times it can be really confusing, and doing it by yourself and trying to have like that open mind and like, it's at times I'm like, all right, I don't really know what that means, but I'm just going to, have faith that you will reveal it to me in time and, that I will be wise enough to see that. And, but it can be difficult at times and we can misinterpret things. And that's why I really enjoy speaking to people like you that have a lot of knowledge and wisdom behind that. But so let's kind of fast forward a little bit, unless there's some times like after you guys got married, I'm assuming that really your faith was like you guys were faith-centered people for most of your adult life, raising your children, things like that. That's correct?
Yeah, I homeschooled the kids.
Okay.
Wanted to impart, wisdom in their lives early on. And we did ministry. He was a pastor in New York.
We started a church in Fort Collins in 2014.
Okay.
And that church closed in 2018.
Okay.
And that began a season of just being kind of tossed in the surf.
Yeah.
It was very disorienting.
We were homeless and living in an RV. So we went from a 3,600 square foot dream home, having to sell it under duress, and then moving into his parents' RV. And it wasn't weatherproof, so we had to move it to the warm beaches of San Diego, which sounds adventurous and wonderful, but when you have 3 preteen teenage girls.
Yeah, this was not retirees.
No.
This was like life fell apart and we had to live in an RV.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just didn't even know what's next.
Right.
We did have some money from the equity of our home, that we ended up investing in some other multifamily properties to try to figure something out.
Right.
And then those failed and we lost everything. So it was just like,
Yeah, it was very disorienting season.
yeah. And it was one of the first times I would say for both of us in our walk with the Lord where the Lord felt silent. And that's been like years of feeling like he's silent.
Yeah. It's very disorienting, and had to reinvent ourselves. During that time, Amy became a real estate agent.
I got my license in California, and then COVID hit the week I sent in all my licensure and couldn't practice. And
My gosh. I didn't realize that it was that recently. I thought you had been in it longer than that.
yeah, no, it was 2020 that I was trying to get my license in San Diego. And then before I even had it in hand because of COVID, our family had decided to move back to Colorado. So we came back August of 2020, and then I got my license here in 2021.
Okay.
I became a financial planner, and after a short stint as a very terrible construction manager,
Paid well. That part was nice in San
Yeah.
Diego.
I became a financial planner, and then did that for a couple of years, and then I joined Amy in real estate in 2024,
Okay.
almost 2 years ago exactly,
Yeah.
and we did that for the last couple of years, and
That was fun.
it was great. We teamed up and we worked with EXP, and then last September, an asteroid hit our home. So on September 12th, last year, 2025, I woke up and fell over because my left side of my body was paralyzed. Turns out I had had a stroke in the middle of the night, that I had a blood clot in my carotid artery that blocked blood to my brain for, what, 8
8 or 9 hours.
or 9 hours?
So by the time the CT scans were back, it was clear that 2/3 of his right brain was completely dead tissue.
God.
You wouldn't know it talking to him.
No,
'cause
it's
he's
crazy.
so brilliant still, right?
Yeah.
But that's the case, and it's pretty
Yeah.
miraculous that he's with us still.
Just had a CT scan this week, or last week, and it's like, yep, it's all dead tissue still.
Is it really?
Yeah.
And the carotid artery, when he went into the hospital, they removed the clot, which was caused by a tear in the artery. We don't know what caused the tear.
Yeah.
But it did its job and created a clot. And so when he went in, they removed it. And then in December, they redid the CT scan and found the carotid artery is 100% blocked again. He should be dead, but he has a bridge artery that has compensated.
Are you kidding me?
And so he, again,
Naturally?
yes. And the doctor said not everyone has that bridge artery.
Holy shit.
So
So now the right side of my brain is being fed from the left side of my brain. My body is rerouted blood.
That's unbelievable, dude.
This artery is completely clogged again.
and they said they can't operate on it again. It's just too risky.
Oh my gosh. So is the damage irreparable?
Of
Like
with the brain.
yeah.
Yeah, that brain tissue it's not
never
it's not
regrow.
like your liver doesn't regrow.
Right.
It's gone. Now the brain can rewire.
Right,
Right.
which we're learning a lot about,
Right.
and that's part of our story to share.
Well, and this is for the sake of time, I just kind of want to leave the listener with the hook of this, because this is like you said an asteroid hit your life, and I don't even think that does this situation justice. I mean, I can't even imagine what you guys have been through, what you're going through, the mental strength that it has taken to remain in the spaces that you're at mentally. I'm telling you guys, you will need to listen to the other side of this, because it's not only redemption, it's responding to life in the only way that we can respond when trauma and pain hits our life. And these guys are a walking testimony and a walking inspiration for how to manage those kinds of things in their life. I've watched them come together in a crazy way. I haven't known you guys all that long. We met at EXP maybe a year or so. but just watching the two of you guys center yourselves around your faith, around each other, around your family, around what's important in your life brings tears to my eyes. Like, it's just so inspirational. So don't miss the second half of this story, because it will bring tears to your eyes as well. And hopefully some deep inspiration to you guys to kind of take some looks inside and, see what's going on in your own life and see what's broken in your own life, and maybe give you some inspiration to dive into that and fix those things. So, dude, I'm like all emotional right now. This story is so powerful, and I'm so grateful that you guys are here and just willing to share this with us and with our listeners. It's so powerful.
We're honored.
Thank you for having us.
Seriously, love you guys.
Love you.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, we're gonna let Jeremy and Amy go for today, but please tune in for round 2, and we're gonna get these guys back in here probably next week so that we can release that episode back to back. So, anyways, we'll get it figured out. Please don't forget to push the buttons, click the like, subscribe, comment. Even if you have things that you don't agree with, please comment with us, communicate with us. We're here for you guys. We love you guys. And we're just trying to help and offer some tools and tips to help you guys with life. So anyways, thank you. And we love you guys. We'll see you next time.